some research.
The 2 Minute Hacks podcast with your host with the most, Tony and Lavelle. Every morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We also have Queen Watkins with Clock That He. Tune in with us and have a great time. Let's talk about it right here. 2 Minute Hacks podcast.
Top of the morning to you, my good people, man. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to all of you. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as Mr. Rogers would say, man. This your host with the most, Tony Mays, Lavelle Salter, and our special guest again, Mr. Marcus Young. What it do, my guy?
Hey. Thanks for having me again. Part 2.
Yeah, man. We continuing this conversation, man, because this is what we really kind of discovered with this, Marcus, is that it's a lot of people out here hurting in relationships because they're failing to really talk about or discuss actually these topics that we're talking about. They're scared to talk about these things, and it's actually putting a strain on their relationship or marriage. And so one of the things that we like to do on the podcast, man, and we like to say that we like to help people become the better version of themselves. And if we're becoming the better version of ourselves, then eventually we're gonna be better in every aspect in every area of our life. Good morning, Fluka. Fluka said, "Great question. I believe the answer is yes and no." Yeah. Okay. So we kind of went a little deeper too, Fluka. So we kind of took it a step further. Yeah. So we've been talking about, this is actually part 3. We've been talking about this for this is really considered part 4 because Marcus and I actually started this conversation last Friday.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And we've kind of carried it over into this week. And then it's kind of grown from there. So we understand, he said, intimacy is not sex. And sex is not necessarily intimacy. Yeah, we definitely have come to that conclusion. but most men don't really understand that. As we grow and we learn, we know better, we do better. But most of us think intimacy is sex, and that's why we fail in relationships a lot of times, because we fail to provide the woman what she truly needs. And vice versa, because there are some men that understand intimacy and the women are not provided, or are not, making that connection work. So we decided to take it a step further, and we threw polygamous relationships and talking about concubines and polygamous relationship. We talked about that there were a few figures in the Bible who had multiple wives and concubines, and like, how could the intimacy and sex actually work in those relationships if you got so many wives and concubines? The Marcus made a good, interesting point yesterday about what the Bible says about being fruitful and multiplying and spreading our seed, but it's still, man, at what point you're gonna get tired as hell?
You know what, Tony? I was digging into this because I love what you put up right here, the examples.
Yeah.
I was digging into it, doing some research on it. I sound like I got an echo.
If it ain't me.
You guys hear it?
Ain't me. I don't hear it.
But I was looking at these guys, and then I was checking with Chat GPT.
Mhm.
And it's interesting how AI gives a lot of insights and stuff. And
Yeah.
one of the things they were saying on Chat GPT was how all of these people right here, especially those first 4, how having multiple wives had multiple issues. They were talking about Abraham had Sarah and Hagar had issues.
Yep.
Jacob, Leah and Rachel, those issues. Rachel was jealous of Leah because of children and things of that nature. And David, his whole family household was all kinds of chaos going on. And then Solomon, it was like he's pulling his heart away, having multiple wives. So we say it's not necessarily in the Bible that is against multiple marriages, but all of the things hint to
it causes issues. Yeah. And I read that yesterday when we was talking about it yesterday, how that even though it wasn't necessarily frowned upon back in that day, but it didn't come without its own issues. And a lot of them, just like you said, and those were prominent figures. Those first four were prominent figures in the Bible. I mean, that really stood out and that most people talk about and most people know. Even if they don't read the Bible, they probably heard about David and Solomon, So, but they had, 700 wives and 300 concubines.
Yeah, he was going overboard with it.
Like what? Darryl said you can have good sex and a bad marriage, but you won't have bad sex and a good marriage. Yeah, I don't know about that one. He said the context is different, and I think this is what Lavelle read yesterday, where he talked about the reasons back in that time that people had multiple wives and multiple concubines, because it was an inheritance type thing where the men wanted heirs. They wanted heirs, and maybe they had by having multiple wives and multiple concubines, this assured them that they could at least hopefully get several male heirs to carry out their lineage. And so this is it was different reasons why they had them. And then some of them were arranged marriages, and because they wanted their daughters to marry into a wealthy family or be part of a wealthy family or wealthier family and help bring their status up. So it was a lot to when you talk about this, but when you bring it up today with these polygamous relationships today, it's different. It's different. I had a video that I was going to share and lost the daggone video. And it was a guy who started out. Let me get a couple of these comments, then I'm gonna share what happened. Let me take this. Let me move this off the screen. Solomon, as great and wish as he was, failed miserably in relationship. Wise, great and wise as he was, failed miserably in relationships. Yeah. David said, "Morning, Tony Lavelle." Marcus Pastor says, "In this you will need true transparency with one another." Now, if we're gonna do Bible, it has some yeah, and that's what we was talking about. Like, I definitely believe it has some contradictory things depending on how you viewing what you viewing, which scriptures you viewing, and if you're not looking at the whole totality of the scriptures and all that. So I definitely believe that. Good morning, Sonia. Good morning, Joseph. Fluka said, "Wise as he was in Fedman." Yeah, we got it. So I was reading this yesterday, and we kind of stopped because we kind of ran out of time. But I started off, I said, the problem of polygamy today. When an African tribal chief converts to Christianity, what happens to all his wives? Should he divorce them and send them back to their parents' home in shame, penury, or should he live away from them in a separate house but continue to provide for them financially? This is a classic problem for missionaries in countries that practice polygamy and want to which there is no easy answer. Just the fervent hope that the next generation will marry only one wife. It must seem very strange for those polygamous families when their normal, social, acceptable lifestyle is suddenly regarded as immoral. So that I wanted to read that so I could jump into what I was telling you about with the guy. So this guy had married. He was a African American guy, he married a white woman. Well, she appeared to be white to me. She appeared to be white to me. And they were married for a number of years. And but he had an infidelity problem. He kept cheating, and she kept dealing with him cheating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about he wasn't just cheating, he was having babies with other women. He was cheating and having babies. and the wife stayed with him, dealt with him, because she said, I loved him. And so the dude said, he said he had these certain few women that he just kept dealing with, regardless. He would study cheating with dealing. And he said, I got tired of like sneaking around cheating. He said, and I was really getting caught, so I really wasn't sneaking no more. It was just I was just getting caught left and right. And he said, I got tired of it. He said, so I sat down and he said, I made a long text message. And I did a group text message with my wife and them women that he was messing with. And he sent them all this long message saying, look, I care for all of y'all, and I ain't gonna stop messing with one of y'all. So either we're gonna do this together, or I don't know. I'm gonna keep, And all the women, they said they were shocked. They were shocked at the fact that, and I really wish I had this video, play this video. They were shocked at the fact to even get the message and to see all the other people names on there that he was dealing with. Like the other 4 women that, his wife was really shocked, because she was like, well, I always dealt with him in his cheating and mess and stuff like that. But that was kind of shocking just for him to just come on out and say, I ain't finna, I'm tired of this. I just want to, let's do it this way. And bro, they one big happy family in the house with 11, 12 kids and 6 more on the way.
Wow. Wow.
Bro, I'm like, this is crazy.
You get that.
But
That's reminding me of what I sent you. Do you get that about Neo?
no, I did.
Okay.
You must have just sent it to me.
Yeah, I sent it today. Neo having his 4 contracts with his 4 women.
Oh yeah, about the contract. We talked about Neo's
Yes.
yesterday. Yeah, but I didn't actually see it.
Good.
I don't see it, Mark. You must have.
Put it on Facebook. So
Okay. That's why I hadn't checked Facebook this morning like that. Look, Roger said, "Good morning, good people." He said they might as well be sister wives. Well, they are now.
Yeah.
They are sister wives. And it's crazy because, and so the wives were talking. They was like, "Do we have our jealous moments?" And they was like, yeah, but we make it work because we love him. That's going back to what Ayana said in the interview. Well, me and you talked about, Marcus. Well, she said, if you're going to run around and cheat, I don't like the cheating stuff. But if we done talked about it, we have agreed upon it, and that's what you want to do, that's better, because I know who I am as a person. And so she said, I'd rather let's talk about it and we agree upon it. Then that ain't cheating. It's something I didn't agree to.
Mm-hmm.
And they agreed to it. I don't know how he got them to agree to it. Now, let me just say this. Neither one of them was black. They look of Latin descent. They did. White and Latin descent. I'm just going to be honest with you. So, but there are a lot of polygamous relationships with black people. As a matter of fact, most of those comments that I seen on the Ayana video was black women saying, glad his sister woke up. So,
but look though, all of these individuals that was in these relationships, and then when you just understand just the power of a woman in past time, the men failed in these situations. It was their worst downfall. So, I mean, irregardless of the power you're supposed to have, and you got this many wives and all that, you didn't accomplish nothing.
Yeah. Well, I said yesterday, like for me, it's gonna be virtually impossible for everybody to be happy at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Like those women just said, even with that guy, we have our jealous moments.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start to be jealous in a relationship, you're gonna start to create some sabotage. You starting to try to sabotage somebody else or do something to somebody else. And jealousy, I was looking at a story yesterday where somebody posted where this girl in Memphis is supposedly on the run because she was jealous of another girl and she hurt the girl, baby girl.
Mm.
And the baby girl is in the hospital. They said she burned the girl, she did cut the baby hair and did some other stuff to the baby, and the baby is fighting for her life in the hospital, and she on the run because you so jealous of somebody else. And so I'm thinking about them wives, they all got all these kids in the house.
Mm.
What if you get so jealous of this one because he's spending more time with her and y'all start to do something to his? See, I can't play them games.
Need some
Oprah Winfrey did a full show on polygamy that I went back and watched yesterday, and it was very interesting. I had to send it to y'all, and then also I found out there's a city in Arizona. I think it's called Centennial Park, where the whole community is basically polygamous.
Yeah, you know. Family, it's a family that started that you ever saw, they got a show called Sister Wives, I think.
Okay.
With the white guy that got had the wives, all the kids, and then now I know one of the wives had left the group back here, but they had moved because everywhere they went to in communities, they were getting ran out basically, right? And so they finally found like this space in Arizona where it wasn't like, but they had like it was, like you said, it's like a whole community now of them, and that's what it is. It's accepted and it's socially accepted, and that's what it is. The kids go to school together, all this kind of stuff. But that sister wife that left them, she said she got just tired of like being like, because he would at first they had separate houses and stuff. Like he was over there, he might go over there, and then his relationship with his children started being estranged because he had all these kids, and his kids was feeling like, he was spending more time with them kids than that kid. So the kids feeling the same way that the parents feeling.
You know what I was thinking about when you saying this too? What came to my mind is Mayweather. Is you ever see how he moved? He got like all his babies' mamas know, and they all taken care of, and they don't have no problems with each other. I don't know if you've seen that. And it also made me think, Tony, I'm not changing the subject or nothing, but it made me think about my old days, my old player days.
Oh, Lord. Where your wife at? Sitting around there somewhere where you...
I'm talking about, hey, right. But you know what? Back in the old
days, just come out of nowhere and hit you in the head with a pan.
Right. So let me watch my back. But you know what made me think about is I remember when we used to try to play a little bit, and I'd be trying to hide one from the other. And it was like it get old real quick. But I remember I just started just being real. When I would talk to a girl, I'd be like, yeah, I got somebody else. You know what I'm saying? I got a female friend. That actually brought out back then, not condoning it, but back then it used to bring out more peace. If she saw me out at the mall or something, they know, I'm with the person I'm with. You know what I'm saying? Don't bother me. It wasn't no surprise. I didn't get ran up on. Like, who is this?
I absolutely positively agree with you because that's how I was. I was the same way. I would, for the most part, I would tell them, like, I got somebody. So, and that way, if they seen me out, we can still throw the peace sign up, what's up, and speak. Because I'm the type I speak to you, keep walking, like, and it wasn't no issues, but, it do get old when you try and chase that. As Fluke could say, Fluke could talk about chasing the rabbit, and he's talking about this topic, chasing the rabbit. And but it gets tired, man, trying to remember what lie you done told, how you cover that up to cover it up, then they catch you in that lie. Bro, ain't nobody got time for that.
That's what the man did when he just told all of them on the group chat. He got
he was like, I'm tired of this. Like, we gonna do this or we ain't, because I'm doing it anyway. But it's tiresome for me because I'm trying to lie to you, run around, have a baby, what you have. Like, let's just do this together under one roof. And they under one roof, Rodney said he saw a show like that, and each woman had her own role, whether it was kitchen, accountant, the teacher. Like, that's crazy, bro. Fluka says, I really wish I had time to chase this rabbit. Intimacy is the most part of a relationship. Most don't agree, and I'm totally sold out that marriage is fair because God is not the center of the because God is not the center of the marriage. Think about God ordained marriage. How can it work properly without Him? If we wonder why so many marriages, relationships fail, love is a decision where emotions get involved. Great day, gentlemen. Got to go. All right. Yeah. It's you know, a lot of marriages and relationships are failing because the lack of intimacy in the relationship. You know, the sex is there, but there's no intimacy. And again, Neo got a contract. Is it 4 or 5? I thought it was 4. It's 4. But he had a contract, and his contract, like, they can't go cheat. He can go and do something else outside of the relationship, but they can't, which is ludicrous to me.
And if they
That's
do,
slavery.
and if they do, they owe him $1 million.
Yeah, he got it. Yeah. And like, I want to say, like he said, each one of them get their time with him. Like he spend time, he'll take one on the road, then he'll take the other one on the road, then take the other one on the road. Then sometimes they just do stuff together. But somebody asked him, so do they get along good? He was like, yeah, they get along good. And he's like, do they participate in like activities? And he was like, yeah, sometimes. And I was like, so I guess so I'm wondering if for a poly relationship to really last with extra wives or wives, do those wives have to be heterosexual ladies or do they have to be bisexual ladies?
That's a
good question. Good observation.
Because if they're bisexual women and they got an attraction for each other too, I can see what they saying. Hell, this is working good for all of us. But if they're heterosexual women and they're only interested in guys, and you say you can't have no other guy but me, but you got 3 other women, how does that even make that fair?
Interesting. That's a great point.
I just like I have questions around it. Like I just can't see it making sense or being good for everybody.
Nice, Abel.
Yeah, the heavenly moment.
I'm telling you, I just cannot see it being good for everybody.
So, with that question, Tony, do everybody have the same desire? You know, men need it some men need it more than others.
So what if you got
women need it like that?
What if you got 4 women with high sex drives?
That's a busy man.
But you telling them, these 3 days her, these 3 days her, then the next 3 days your next. You gotta wait.
Because Ayana says she's older, she don't need it. So
yeah, she said her drive is not like that. She said he can go over there and up and down on that young girl, and then come spend time with me. Because she's interested more in that other intimacy, that connection.
Yes,
not the sex part of it.
I got a video, gentlemen, that I found that it's probably about 5 minutes. We probably won't play all of it, but this gentleman here really gonna break down exactly everything that we said and give us just a little bit more context. So he's of the persuasion, but we're gonna check him out and see if he's gonna help us with this situation. Let's get it to the stage.
When people look at the Bible and they see cases of polygamy, they're not distinguishing between what God commands from the history of how he treated his people and how his people treated him. And his people were not faithful. God is the one who designs marriage. God is the one who invents marriage. Marriage is not something invented by humans. God is the one who gives the first woman to the first man. God is the one who presides over that marriage ceremony. And then when Moses tells us this, he makes a comment, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and cling to his wife in the singular, and the two shall be one flesh. So that's God's standard. That's what the Bible is teaching. We should distinguish that from the Bible as a divine history of God's relationships with his people. These relationships are called covenants. A covenant is like a marriage where two parties make a commitment to be devoted to each other, to be loyal, to be faithful. We see that God creates that kind of a relationship with Adam and Eve, but they are disloyal. They do not believe his word. They do not obey him, and they plunge humanity into chaos and evil. God makes a new start with Noah, and then that also goes down the tubes. God makes a new start with Abraham and his family. Then God makes a covenant with Israel, the family of Abraham. And the whole history of the Old Testament is a history of how human partners are unfaithful, human partners are disloyal. They do not believe in the word of God. They do not believe what God says. They do not obey his royal rule and kingship, and they rebel, and they want to establish what is right and wrong for themselves. And so in that history, we see a constant violation of the original standard. And so that's what we're seeing. We see that with Abraham, God promises him a child. He doesn't trust God. He doesn't wait for God. He tries to do it on his own strength, and he has a relationship with Sarah's female servant. Jacob also has 2 wives. Is that a wonderful relationship? No, it's not a wonderful relationship. The Bible is showing that this brings in all kinds of trouble. In the book of Judges, it tells us that these judges had many wives. Why? Because they were aspiring to be king. So most people in the ancient Near East only had 1 wife. Only kings could afford to have many wives. So when you read the Bible is not promoting polygamy. It's showing us that only royal figures had many wives. And it's also showing us that this is not ideal, that this caused all kinds of difficulty and hardship and trouble and the fighting among the wives and it's not a satisfactory relationship. We see that in the case of David. Nathan the prophet came to him and spoke to him and gave a parable about a guy who had many sheep and a poor man who had only 1 sheep. And when someone came and he had to show hospitality, instead of slaughtering one of his many sheep, he stole the 1 sheep that this poor man had. And all that is saying is, you have many wives and still you're not satisfied. So it shows that having many wives is not a satisfactory relationship. You have many wives and you're not satisfied, and you have to go and steal the 1 woman that this 1 person has. We see that in the case of Solomon. Solomon is a tragic figure because he did not practice what he preached. So you have the wisdom of Solomon in what he wrote, but we don't see the wisdom of Solomon in the way he lived. He disregarded his own wise principles. He multiplied wives, which is expressly forbidden for kings in Deuteronomy 17. The king is not to multiply wives, not to multiply gold, not to multiply horses, because who is a king going to marry? He's going to marry a princess from another country, and it's going to create a political alliance, and they're going to trust in that alliance, and they're not going to trust in the Lord. He's not to multiply horses because he's not to rely on chariots and military hardware. He's not to multiply gold because he's not to trust in his ability to pay other kings to deliver him. He's to put his trust in Yahweh. So what the history of the Bible shows, even though these were men of faith, they're not men of morality. Not everything they did was moral. If you look at the New Testament and look at what Jesus says in the New Testament and look at what the apostles say, they never hold up anyone from the Old Testament as a moral example. They hold them up as examples of faith, but not as examples of morality.
That's enough right there.
That was good. I want to hear the rest of it. You guys send that to me. Loretta.
Yeah, it was almost at the end. It had like 20 seconds, 15.
Yeah, it was
20
almost
seconds.
15.
Yeah. That was good, bro. Like it was all we talking about, and it helps me cause like for me, in my heart, I felt like it was immoral, but that really gave me the background because I never like and Lavelle talking about this all the time, and the two shall become one, and I didn't even like put that with it. You know what I'm saying? And cling unto leave his mother and father, cling unto his wife, not wives. I never even put that with this, you know. So, bro, like that just really helped me stand on and understand even my morality in the situation, how I felt about it.
See, this is another thing. I learned this a couple of years ago. A lot of folks think that Genesis, and this is on the subject but off the subject. A lot of folks that think Genesis is the beginning of the Bible, and it isn't. Genesis is Moses giving the accounts of God's people from his standpoint, because of how their morality and everything was going in their time. And if you don't break it down and give the context of what that comes from and read the beginning of Genesis, when he gives you the excerpt of his account, it'll leave you like thinking like everything in the Bible, in the Old Testament, is right, so to speak, because you think, okay, it's the beginning of the Bible. It's Noah's account of the people. So it's not God speaking, it's Noah giving the account of God.
You mean Moses?
Moses.
Yeah.
That blew me away.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Now let me ask you, with Solomon, Tony Lavelle, do you think he got some of that wisdom after the stuff he went through with the wives?
I think he was getting it as he was going through it.
Okay, because it seemed like it
was OJT was on the job training.
Yeah, and I do believe too, like what the guy just said, and he's a Old Testament, you know, somebody that really studies the Old Testament, man, that really kind of digs into it big time. But when he talked about how Solomon was wise in his writings, you know, we could be wise in the stuff that we write and put down, but hell, if you ain't following what you writing, and that's what he was saying. He said he was wise in the stuff that he wrote, but hell, he didn't follow it. He didn't follow the stuff he wrote.
Yeah,
because them scriptures, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to your own understanding. That sounds like somebody done been through something.
He could have, but you still like, because it doesn't give. And that's why I like this, especially with the King James interpretation of it. Man, there was so many lost parts. Then you got missing parts of the Bible too. You know, you got the whole book of Enoch that ain't even in the Bible.
And missing books of the Bible are in the Bible. It tells you
it's crazy. Like you got the whole book of Enoch, man. Like, and that talks about the whole design of heaven and Enoch. I mean, everything, bro. The angels, all the different angels, and the fall of the angels. But we get the glimpses of the fall, you know. But you know, so it's hard to really, man, like.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to put like what stage he wrote what in, what timeline and stage he wrote it in, because we don't know. Because it wasn't really depicted in the whole Solomon story.
Yep.
Unless you're a theologian that studies that and went back to and looked at the old ancient Greek and ancient Hebrew and you know and understands that.
Well, that's always been one of my arguments, you know, with church. I said we study the Bible, but why we don't study about the Bible? When we go to Bible study and just study the Bible, we don't study about the Bible, like the missing books, the sea scrolls, and all this stuff. But if God intended for that to be in there, He would have put it in there. Anyway, we need
even over there in Revelation, it says that everything that was done can be put in the Bible. It's not everything that God did was going to be written. So he couldn't. The Bible can't hold everything about God.
Yeah.
Now now going
Man.
what the gentleman just talked about in that video, he was emphasizing how Old Testament, how the leaders were not moral examples. And then now we come over to the New Testament. It seemed like that the emphasis on being monogamous was about leadership. It
Yeah.
seemed like when you search the scriptures out, they're talking about leaders, elders, deacons that should be the husband of one wife. Why does it emphasize to be the husband, one wife for the leadership? Shouldn't that be already understood, or why is he emphasizing husband?
But I think because
like those that's not in leadership can have more than one wife.
Well, because I think because just like he was saying, that you got these prominent figures in the Bible that all had multiple wives, but they were kings, they were people of royal family, and so they don't get it twisted. You should be the husband of one wife. Like you shouldn't be out here having multiple wives. And first of all, you probably couldn't even afford to have multiple wives. In the first place, you ain't rich. You ain't no king. And most of those things, I think Avell alluded to this other day, is most of those people that did that because they had the power to do so. They had the money, they had the resources to have 2 wives, 3 wives, 4 wives, 6 concubines, and so you know, a lot of people that didn't have those resources. You couldn't expect for any old Joe below Peter maybe to walk around, or Paul to walk around with 6 wives, and it didn't make sense. And
this is also a segue too. When you think about what Paul talks about, that the woman is the weaker vessel, and when you think about being in a relationship like this, to me, you're playing on the mindset of those women, because it almost seems like a women's slaves camp, if you will. Because my thing is, even when it comes to man, you ought to have the power and the integrity and the mindset to have the power to love one woman. To me, it questions your integrity, and it's kind of probably answering your question, Mark.
Your morality, yeah.
It questions your integrity as to, who you really are as a man. And so my thing is, when he says that woman is of a weaker vessel, when you allow yourself to be in a situation like this, I really believe those ladies are really unhappy with themselves, because you're spreading yourself in a situation where you truly can't be the essence of what a woman was made for one man. You see what I'm saying?
Like when I think about what Monica and I have today, I can't even imagine sharing what I have with her today, having to share that with multiple. Bro, like I can't. I'm trying to because even when Ayana said that, I was like, I'm trying to rationalize her saying you can't tell a person who to love. Yeah, that's true, but if he truly loves you and he really he wouldn't want to love another.
You open that Pandora's box.
Like I can't make it make sense, bro.
My hat dedicated to Monica today too, man. My bucket hat. This is just from Monica.
Yeah, she's the bucket hat queen right now.
Man, with the Nikes.
Yeah. Well, I'm repping the 2 men, bro.
No doubt.
But let me read a little bit more of this, man, because I like that too, Rodney, because I've been wanting to get a copy of the Ethiopian Bible as well, because I actually got another book in there that just has the missing books of the Bible in it that I have in there. But he said, man edited the Bible. Someone made a decision not to put the other books in the King James Version. I'm told it was decided at the Council of Nicaea. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep. And it's because I think, that's another example of the Roman Church controlling the Bible. That's another example of Rome and the popes and all that stuff controlling what we get, because they wanted to control what we get, but somehow it got out there, because some people say this ain't right. People need to know.
Yeah.
And that's when you got the lost books of the Bible out there, and the Ethiopian Bible that shares all of the books of the Bible and stuff like that. So, but you got to understand from a traditional standpoint, we've never been taught those things. So if you're still going to traditional Baptist church, Pentecostal, or whatever, they gonna only teach what's in that Bible.
King James, and King James got so many flaws in it.
Yeah, you're not gonna
You
get.
do the history on King James. It's a lot.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot. Let me get back to this. So it was another section of this I wanted to read. Okay, so polygamy in the Old Testament. The Old Testament allows polygamy, but doesn't encourage it. Great men such as Abraham, Israel, Judah, Gideon, Samson, David, and Solomon had multiple wives. Through the Old Testament records, many problems that resulted. However, the law actually made it mandatory in one circumstance: if a married man died without leaving a male heir, his brother was required to marry his widow, regardless of whether he already had a wife. This was so that she would have support during her old age. So that was for a different reason. It wasn't for him to,
be with her.
Be with her, have intimacy, or be intimate with her, but just to care for her as a family member.
A contract.
Yeah. Polygamy was also allowed in other circumstances, and the only restriction was that you shouldn't marry two sisters. Man. Polygamy was beneficial when the number of men was reduced by warfare. It not only helped women who would otherwise be on their own, but also helped to replace the population more quickly. In peacetime, however, this practice meant that if rich men had more than one wife, then some poor man had to remain single. All right, polygamy in the New Testament. Jesus took the side of the Romans against the Jewish establishment on this occasion. Most Jews outside of Palestine and some in Palestine disagree with polygamy. For example, the Quorum sect regarded polygamy as one of the three great sins of mainstream Judaism. They call these sins the nets of the devil, by which the smooth-speaking Pharisees entrapped the people. They couldn't actually find a verse in the Old Testament that spoke against polygamy, so they combined two different verses that both contained the phrase male and female. Genesis 1:27 and 7 and 9. The first says God created them male and female, and the second says 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark. Since male and female were called two in Genesis 7, the Quran community inferred that this also meant two in Genesis 2 and concluded from this that only two people could marry. They referred to this doctrine as the foundation of creation. We may be convinced by their logic, but as far as we're concerned, it was a case proven. Wow. And it just goes on. Let me see. This says what Jesus said about polygamy in the Bible. Let me see what this says. It says enforcing monogamy may have cleared away a scandal, but it created a new problem for the church. Suddenly, there were more widows without husbands and without support because they couldn't become anyone's second wife. To try to help these widows, the church created a new type of social club for the women, for them, called a widows association. Ooh. 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 So look at masonry. When I became a mason, that was one of the things that we had to do, was take care of the widows.
Well, that's Old Testament. That's Old Testament to take care of the widows.
So all of this stuff, man, like, yeah. The Widows Association. Okay. This spread outside of Palestine as a good solution to a problem they shared because no polygamy was allowed outside Palestine. It was one of the first things the fledgling church did, and right from the start, it was problematic. Greek-speaking widows complained that the Aramaic speakers were being given more food, for one thing, young Timothy leading the church in Ephesus in Ephesus had other problems with his widows, and Paul had to write a whole chapter to help him cope. Nevertheless, this association was good in their needs, and it was far better than expecting these women to find a new husband. Why did Jesus and Paul change God's commands? Had God always been in favor of monogamy so that they were now returning to his original wishes? Although Jesus said that this was how things were at the beginning, this doesn't mean that God had subsequently given wrong commands to Moses. It was the purpose of these commands, rather the commands themselves, that was important. It was God's purpose that Jesus and Paul were upholding. God's purpose was for marriage was to help individuals find mutual support in families when there were too few men due to warfare. This purpose was accomplished by allowing polygamy to ensure male heirs in more stable times. Polygamy resulted in many men remaining single because wealthy men could have many wives. Bro, it's crazy. That's crazy. So, can relationships can't? So I'm questioning my question now.
I was thinking it as you were saying it.
I'm questioning my question now. When I say without sex and intimacy, can the relationship or marriage be sustained? And clearly, in polygamy, it has. Because ain't no way all the women, 700 wives, 300 concubines, getting no intimacy.
Right, by no means.
It's impossible.
And if you look at today's polygamous relationships, if a man has like Neo, he basically got them in a slave situation. That's what I feel like. Because if you're saying you can do X, Y, Z, but we can't, and if we do, we got to pay you.
They signed the contract though. They signed it. He put the contract in front of them and he gave them an option to sign it. And they was like this.
All I'm saying is now I'm questioning my question. I'm questioning my question from their standpoint. I ain't questioning for me, because I understand that for me it's a moral issue. It's just morally in like no, I ain't with it. But if you look at it from their standpoint, it's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a discussion with the wife last night. Yolanda, shout out to Yolanda.
Or argument.
Huh? It was borderline too. I was trying to pick her brain about this topic for today. You know, it was interesting. I asked her, we ended up talking about Bathsheba, David and Bathsheba. And how David, the sin was really about, him killing Bathsheba's husband.
Yeah.
That's what God dealt with him about. And just like the scriptures that somebody, I can't remember who spoke it, but about Nathan the prophet coming to him and saying that, you took his sheep. You only had one. So it was like God dealt with him about what he did to her husband at the time. And then we were talking about how Bathsheba, how David fasted and how Bathsheba was with a child, and have a husband, then that child ended up dying. And through all that fasting and everything that David did, and he was like, once he found out the child died, he rose up, he got up, and he was like, well, while I fasted, I was leaning to see if God would be gracious, but now that the child's died, there's no longer need to fast anymore. So
the seed was tainted. The seed was tainted.
Yeah. So he dealt with her he dealt with David about having blood on his hands. But then when it comes out later, he ended up marrying Bathsheba and then having Solomon. Had one of the wisest kings. So it's like, okay, he dealt with him with that, but when it came to him remarrying, he ended up having Solomon with Bathsheba. You know, God honored her. And I told her, I was talking to her, we were talking about something, everything. And I was like, well, you know, she didn't really want to hear about nothing about no polygamy. She was like, I don't know about all that.
Monk already put her foot down. I ain't sharing Tony with nobody. So
Right. Oh, but it was interesting that he blessed. But I told him, I said, I felt like Bathsheba was going through. She lost her husband, lost her baby. And I was like, a lot of that grace was for her too. You know what I mean?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I think I was just going to say, I feel like the grace that was granted to her was more for her than David, because David had, you know, in this situation, man, David walked out there and looked over that terrace and saw her down there bathing. At that point, he knew he was wrong, but he sit there and continued to watch. And so he watched with a lustful eye to the point he said, I gotta have her. What? And she knew she was the wife of Uriah. But how can I deny the king? You know, I deny the king, he might have me put down. So let me, you know, so he did this, impregnates the woman. Uriah comes in from battle. He's like, man, go lay with your wife. No, but Uriah said, my duty is to the king. I'm gonna lay on the king doorstep. I'm gonna protect the king. Let me get him drunk, man. He'll go lay with his wife. No, my duty is to the king. And when he realized that, he said, man, send him back out there. But this time, put him on the front line.
Yeah, that's what it sense got in.
Yeah. He like, he ain't gonna lay with her, you know. Because so what if he didn't do that? And then Uriah figured out she was pregnant and said, I ain't slept with you. Who you pregnant by? What kind of drama would that have been, bro? Cause Uriah was a captain of the guy. He was big time in the military, bro. Could he have took his men and caused an uprising against that?
Absolutely.
Possibly. And it would be justified.
Bro, like, whoo, like, so David, so I'm saying, because think about it. Why else would David, because if David felt like he wasn't powerful enough to really challenge him or do nothing, just let him, he'd be all right.
Here's another thought. I'm sorry, you about to say something?
No, I'm just saying, but for David to send him to that front line like this, send him out there front line, make sure he don't turn.
Here's another thought though, because they were saying, okay, that David, that sin that he did against Uriah was the reason was a big reason why David had a lot of dysfunction in his family. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff happened after that in David's household that caused all types of stuff. His children was coming up against him. There was a whole lot of stuff was going on after that. After he did that to that man's family, Uriah's family.
Well, think about the black families that, I can use my family, for instance. My granddaddy had several children, and it caused discord among both parts of the family because he was a rolling stone. He had children on this side of the neighborhood, and he had the children on this side of the neighborhood. But thank God for my mom, who said, you know what, regardless of what my daddy did, I'm gonna make an allegiance with my sisters and brothers, because that's what they are. I'm just using it for an example. And same scenario, when stuff is not done correctly, you gotta reap what you sow. That's a divine principle. That ain't got nothing to do with whether you're a king or you a peasant. When you put your bread out there, in a few days, it's gonna come back to you.
Man, why we gotta be peasants though?
I ain't talking about us being peasants. I'm just saying. You're so stupid.
We ain't no king, we peasant now.
I just Googled this right here. It says the power of loving one woman. Loving one woman can offer a profound sense of peace, completion, and joy, allowing a person to feel truly whole and connected. it can also be a source of great joy and comfort, creating a warm and happy feeling. You got to make sure that you're giving attention with
With purpose and
purpose
passion.
Yes.
and passion. So you can have all those individuals and still be disconnected,
Yep.
not be whole, not having a piece about yourself.
Man, let me clock this tea, man, because oh
Bro, it's late. It's already almost 10 o'clock.
man, I'm telling you,
That's
moving quick, bro.
9 o'clock for
Good
y'all.
morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all know what time it is. Put them phones down, fingers up. It's time to clock that tea with your girl, Queen Watkins. I hope y'all having an amazing morning. But y'all know what time it is. It's time to clock that tea. So y'all, the internet has been in an uproar with this situation with the baby daddy taking his baby mama on a vacation. But the twist is he's married and he didn't want the wife to go. Let's talk about it. So his wife ended up finding a ticket to Orlando, Florida that her husband had. And she's questioning him like, where did these come from? Like, when are we going to Florida? So then he said, no, we're not going. I'm going to take my baby mother and our son to Florida. It's his birthday. So that's where he wanted to go. So that's where we're going to go. She goes, why you didn't tell me? I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you closer to the time of going on the vacation, right? So they continue to have this conversation about why you didn't tell me and why can't our kids go? They do have kids together as well. Oh, boy said, oh, that's going to be too many bodies, man. I ain't going to be able to do that. And she asked him, why did you take your baby mama? Why you just going to take your son? He was like, it makes sense to do this. She hadn't been on a vacation in a while. So it makes sense for me to take her as well. Baby mama, the wife asked, how many rooms? One room, one bed, a couch. She said, are you serious? She was like, why wouldn't you even get you an extra room? Even if you claim to be taking them on a vacation, why not get an extra room? He goes, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody finna pay for all that. So what happened was she flipped the script. She said, okay, you going out of town with your baby mama? Cool. I'm going to call my baby daddy and I'm going to go on a trip with him. Oh, boy was like, so now you tit for tat. What's the occasion? What's the occasion? Because it's my son's birthday while I'm doing it. So what's the occasion? And she was like, it don't have to be an occasion. Since you going with your baby mama, I'm going to call my baby daddy and I'm going to go with him. Mind you, they're husband and wife, right? So she's trying to figure out why you didn't tell me what's going to go on this trip and why you didn't invite me and your kids, right, to this occasion since your son is going to Orlando by himself. Like, this looked like a family trip to her, right? So the internet is at an uproar with it, like going 50-50 with the decision. Baby, look, let me know. You taking your baby mama on a trip, I should not just find out. Let me know. Let me know what's up. Let me know plans, how it's going. Because, baby, I would have definitely told you, you're getting another room. Do I need to put in? Because we coming. Because ain't no way y'all finna have no family trip like that. You leave me at home. Hell, I want to go on a vacation too. All right, y'all. That's all the tea that I have today. Make sure y'all tune in to 2 Minute Hats Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. sharp. And don't forget to stay tuned for your girl, Queen Watkins. Clock that tea. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.
It's a 2 Minute Hats Pop.
You know you're wrong for that.
What the hell happened?
Oh, just bam. Sometimes when you add to the screen, the whole screen, and you don't remove it, it'll take them off. It'll take us off. Anyway, that's crazy.
He bold with it.
The Super Bowl with it, cause first of all, Mark would have been like, you ain't going on no trip with her. She ain't going on the trip. Me and you can take the baby and our babies on a trip, but she won't be baby. She won't be going. Now she can pay her own, get her own room and join us. But
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be none of that would be going down like that.
You spoke this up, Doc.
Bullshit.
Like that little white baby in the meme in the back seat. A bullshit.
Yeah, that was not a discussion at all.
So what would the discussion be, Monica?
It wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't have been at all.
It's a segue to what we're talking about. It just always go in with the subject matter, because that's one thing me and Don are always thankful for, that neither one of us had no children before we got married. Because, bro, my hands go out to you guys who, you know, had to do those blended families and stuff like that, because it's a headache. I mean, if those individuals are not mature, I can't say it just like all the way, but at the same time, bro, you can't all of that, bro. Like, man,
I experienced dealing with a woman with a baby daddy, and it was some stuff similar to that. And and I felt like I got hit from the stuff I did to females in the past. She got me,
right?
Because I found out a whole lot later, boy. Baby, you know, dealing with that takes some. Actually, you know what? That situation actually made me learn something. I went to my stepmother, my dad's wife, and told her, I understand how you felt over some years, way better dealing with somebody that had a child.
Right.
So, you know,
that's great.
Respect.
Yeah. Let's see. Mel said, "Woo, child." Roger said, "Yeah, we coming too."
Man, what?
This going to be a huge family vacation, cause we all going. Everybody going. Man, what? Man, look, man, I want to shout out before we get off here, man. I want to shout out, man, one of my church members, Mr. Andrew Brown, for his donation of $150 for our homeless tent drive. He told me yesterday, Bible study. He told me last night at Bible study. He said, "I'm gonna cash out you something for the homeless tent. I want to get it." And man, I woke up this morning, opened my phone up, and I said, "Wow, man! Shout out to him, man, for I mean, we got a ways to go, but man, I'm liking the early stuff."
Oh yeah, we had already said it.
Yeah, I'm loving this, man. So I got to get my guy, you know, the hat and a t-shirt or something together, you know. Let's see. That's a lot, man. That's a whole lot, Matt. Cause you can take your baby mama on a trip. Wait a minute, we married, and you can take your baby mama and the baby on a vacation. No.
First of all, you've been saving some money that you ain't even told me about.
Or maybe he the person that handles the funds, the finances. One
way or the other, you still
case. Well, no, they could be one of them new age families where she got her own account and she paid that bill, and he got his own account. I don't do that, but maybe they one of them new age couples that got that, so he just paid for it out of his own account.
More than likely.
Yeah, that's the only way, cause I can't see. Ain't no way in hell Monica gonna come tell me she took the joint account and went paid for a trip for her and her baby dad to go on the trip.
That's what I'm saying.
It's about to be a 187.
It might to be some furniture moving in this.
What a comment that
man. Bro, we finna tear this bitch up.
I'm gonna push your head to the motherfucking white meat.
What Shaq says, the furniture gonna be moving.
There'll be some furniture moving.
It's gonna be, man. Look, don't play. Anywho, we got to get out of here, y'all, man. It's been another good one. I to be honest with y'all, I kind of walked away with a kind of a understanding now.
Me too.
When it made me kind of question my own question and say, well, maybe shit, they are good because it's making it work for them, you know. But I guess, you know, when we talk about a traditional sense of one woman, one man, I don't think it can work without no intimacy or no sex. But clearly in a polygamous relationship, I guess it works. So, man, I appreciate our special guest, man, Mr. Marcus Young. He been with us, man. Like, bro, you started to be a regular on this month. But what I like about it is you add you remind me of my partner Ralph, man. You add relevant context to our conversation, and anytime that we can add somebody that can add to and not take away from, it makes it better, man. It makes the whole dialogue and conversation better, man. So thank you so much for joining us, man. And most certainly, man, we hope whenever you can join us again, you'll join us again on some of our topics, man. We appreciate you kindly.
I wish we can just end out, close the week out with him tomorrow and then live Freestyle Friday. I don't know if we're gonna keep.
Well, I don't know what his schedule like. I mean,
I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe he want to come up with a subject for tomorrow or something.
I'm plugged in.
Well, let's run the weekend in. Look, let's run the week out.
There you go.
Yeah, let's run the week out and maybe so we're gonna tell you what. We're gonna run the week out and we're gonna let you come up with a topic for tomorrow. Whew. Okay. We're gonna let you come up with a topic for tomorrow. So just text me later on, text me or inbox me the topic you want to talk about. If you got a video to go with it, send me that so we can make sure we prime it up, upload it, and we'll run that tomorrow.
I got a couple ideas. Y'all be ready.
Oh,
those that tuning in, y'all better be ready.
This is making me so nervous.
My head just now.
This is making me so nervous right now. I've had some offline conversation with Cuz, and this is making me nervous right now.
About to dig into that intimacy part.
Oh Lord,
some details in there.
Ah.
So y'all listen, get ready. These great men.
She said, "Don't let that man come up with no topic."
Is that my cousin?
All right, man. Well, man, come on, close us out with a prayer, bro.
Yes, man. Thank y'all, man. Awesome time for these last couple of days, man. It's been amazing, and hopefully it helps somebody. And hopefully y'all go and do some research for yourself, and get to know your mate a little bit better, into each other. So yeah. Appreciate you, Mark.
Give some attention with purpose and passion.
There it is. Can't wait for tomorrow, Ro, and see what you come up with. I'm on tippy toes, so let's get ready to make it happen, Captain.
I'm scared.
We're gonna get some young analogy. Hello, somebody.
I'm scared.
Make y'all all forever young.
Tony said he's scared. I like it. You got your own podcast, Forever Young. I like it. The Forever Young Pod. I like it. Okay, then let's go because we'll still be on here. Lord God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this time. Thank you for waking us up this morning, giving us a reasonable portion of health and strength. We see you to touch all our efforts. We ask you to touch relationships and marriages to be the better version of what you would have it to be, Lord God. And Lord God, we ask you to continue to touch Tony family, my family, Marcus family, and every family that's associated with us, and everybody that watches the podcast. And we ask you to do this in your darling son Jesus' name, and we said amen.
Amen. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Same bad time,
same bad place.
Right.
2 Minute Hats.
Forever Young.
Yes, sir.
It's the 2 Minute Hats podcast with your hosts with the most, Tony and Lavelle, every morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We also have Queen Watkins with Clock Dead. Tune in with us and have a great time. Let's talk about it right here. 2 Minute Hats podcast.